All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining Manly Combos. If you've actually never listened to it before, I'll give you kind of a quick background into who we are and what we do. I'm Corey Cummins, the founder. And we started this to destigmatize men's mental health. And we do this in a couple ways. The goal is to have conversations with men who have gone to therapy or have had their own mental health journey. We talk to mental health professionals about specific topics. And then we also talk to nonprofits and people who have men's groups to kind of shed light on these different things out there that you can use to kind of go through your journey. So today I'm really happy we have, actually I should have asked, how do you say your name? Is it Reiss?
Yeah, it's Reiss. Yeah.
Okay.
Some people
Okay.
could pronounce it
So,
Reiss.
oh yeah, I thought it was Reiss. But so no, today we're really lucky. We have Reiss on Manly Combos, and this is going to be kind of a two-part conversation. So one is going to be talking about his journey into mental health, but then also he started an amazing program called the Brotherhood Legion that I wanted to bring light to. I wanted to talk to you about it. So let's just start. So Reiss, would you mind giving a little background on yourself and who you are and where you're from and everything like that?
Yeah, so as we just said, my name's Reiss. So Reiss Craig Michael Loftus. I'm 33 years old. I'm from the UK in the Midlands, a place called Leicester City. I'm a professional dancer, which I've done most of my life. And then during lockdown, I've changed in the past few years into a personal trainer and a coach, which has brought about also the men's mental health group, the award-winning focus group for men that we have now in the Midlands. I'm a human being, a man, ex-addict in a sense as well, substance abuser, and now just dream chaser motivator, and man that's trying to inspire and change in the community.
Amazing. So what kind of started your journey into, mental health, or, we're kind of really trying to figure things out? What kind of was the impetus behind it?
Well, the shift came in lockdown. I was coming out of being a performer. We was all in a bit of a sticky situation during lockdown, kind of evaluating my future, with certain statements as well that came out during lockdown about retraining, in getting different trades, performers with performers, and different other complications as well that went side by side with, the body anatomy and being in control of the decisions what I put inside it as well. So, I decided to make certain decisions for my own sake. Decided not to take the vaccine, which was quite heavily being used in all the dancing jobs at the minute. And I thought, how do I take more responsibility, more accountability, and move into a different industry? And that's when I started becoming a personal trainer. And I took 4 lads, and we did a little program whilst we was in lockdown. But I'm a man that's come from a place of poverty. I'm a man that knows many people of different flavours, of different colours, that come from different levels of society. I've watched a lot of people go through a lot of stuff. I've been through a lot of stuff myself. Before you get into the circle of mental health, or before we started talking about it, realistically, we all battle with our mental health every day. So when I started getting into the business, it's only it's only a point of looking back and reflecting on how my life's been, and then trying to use some of the experiences and some of the situations where I've, mentally been broken, and then trying to use them to help people out of them same situations. So, I've been in and out of drug abuse since I was a child. Well, since I was, a young teen at 13 and 14. I struggled a lot as a young teen, and then into my early 20s. I've had heartbreak. I fell into depression. I used to be in trouble with the law. There's all these things that contribute to having a poor mental well-being. So life, I've always been going through mental health struggles, but at the same time, I've always found a certain resilience in me, and having my last job as a performer really helped as well. But I really got into the space after lockdown. But like everybody, I've been dealing with mental health my whole life.
No, I really appreciate that. And one thing that you said that I think you said, if I had it, you mentally been, kind of broken down. If you don't mind me asking, I guess, what were some of those points where you say you were broken down? Like what caused that to happen?
Drug abuse will do that. Continuously using drugs to fuel some sort of social engagement, some sort of escapism. I remember I used to, as a child, I come from an estate which is full of people that, that are thieves, that are crooks, that are drug dealers. So, I also followed the environment. When I was a child, I used to steal a lot, used to shoplift a lot and stuff. And then, so I used to find myself in some really bad situations. But one of the one of the battles I remember having is going away when I was a teen and doing a job as a performer, and coming back and then being in trouble with the law, being arrested for theft and drugs, and finding myself that I was going to lose everything because of these patterns and these behaviours that I had as a child. I was going to lose everything that was going to change my life. Further on into my 20s, I've also found myself many times, in my bed, losing my mind, talking to myself in many different voices, in a state of drug psychosis, because I've not slept for days, and I've got work tomorrow, and I'm really trying to get sleep. So now I'm in a combative state with myself, and I'm just having these detachments from who I am, and then self-destructing and losing my own sanity in sense. So they're parts, but you go backwards and forwards with it all the time. You think you're wasting your life, and you find yourself in these really dark places. But most of it has been built around drug abuse. Throughout my early teens, and then into my late 20s.
No, I appreciate you kind of talking us through that. And so, how did you make the step into kind of wanting to figure things out? Like mine was, my mom went through cancer for 3 years, and I watched her die, and that was my impetus in going in it. And then I've had other reasons, whether it was, having bad relationships where you break up, or work stuff, or I've had some male friends, take their own lives and things like that. So, there's been different reasons why I've gone. So how did you, how did you kind of take your step into it?
Slowly happened. I slowly started to want to better myself, and then through being sick of my own actions, or coming to the realization if I don't change, then I'm destined for destruction and failure, and letting everybody down as well. Where like I said, where I come from is place of poverty in Leicester. It's not as bad as it used to be, but I got a full scholarship into a private performing arts college. It was a very similar story to the Billy Elliot story. So a lot of people were very proud of me. My community paid for all my gear. So there's always been a kind of an inkling. Well, there was that that if I end up back there, I'm a total disgrace. I've wasted all this opportunity. I've wasted all this time and effort that people have put into me, or people in this place. Of me trying to better myself and be an example. I've thrown it all away, and I always felt shame of that. So I was like, if I don't do something now, if I don't get out of this environment, if I don't try and make some change, if I don't take accountability for these drugs, if I don't take accountability for these debts, I'm never going to evolve in life. And then I'm going to be that same geezer that's back in the estate doing nothing with himself, chasing his tail, saying, if I could, I woulda. And that there is a big motivation for me to change. And having people, I've had loads of friends that have committed suicide. I know a young man that just committed suicide last month that I worked with, a couple of months before, a good friend of mine committed suicide. A man, another man that I had in my house, a few weeks before, and the man that I was conversing with again. And then that's had to repeatedly, I know friendly fans, all that's around you constantly. So all them things are motivators. All them things, all the conversations I have with people on a daily basis are motivators. So that was kind of the shift, me just wanting better for myself, and then also not wanting to fall back into a place which is not worth me. I mean, I can do better, so I need to do better, and I deserve to do it for the other people around me as well, and for my family. I always think about, if I'm going to create a family in the future, what sort of man do I want to be? Do I want to be this version of me that is lost and constantly abusing drugs and doesn't have any direction, or doesn't have any really motivation and productivity, or do I want to be able to bring up a nice family in a supported, safe environment and raise kids in a way that, in a sense that, yeah, be the father that maybe would have made me probably a little bit more better. You know what I mean?
No, definitely. Well, I really appreciate that. And yeah, I can. First off, I can't dance, so that's impressive that you got a full scholarship
Yeah.
for performing arts. What type of, if you don't mind me asking, what type of dance do you do?
I'm trained in everything now, so I'm trained in all the classical styles. But when I first started, I was a body popper, and I used to dance for a local troupe from Leicester called the ER Crew, which is like they do like local West End, but we used to do the carnival. So we used to it's a bit like soca, bashment, yeah, but Caribbean dance styles.
I wish I could dance, but I
Yeah,
can't.
maybe very popular.
And so with all that, so I really appreciate that. That's really impressive that you were able to realize that, you needed to kind of take a step to do it. So what did you do to actually start working on it? Did you go to counseling or therapy, or like what was your process to kind of go on your journey?
Some of the shifts. I remember when I was in college and I was only a young lad. I believe I was 17. I was in college, and I remember, I was my energy was all over the place. I was very. I'm always impulsive, quite, but I was very impulsive. But I remember my teacher giving me a book called The Secret. You've probably heard of it. It's quite a popular book. And The Secret, Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment, and it talks about law of attraction. It talks about energy transfers, and it talks about you know energy, really, but in how we perceive energy and how our energy affects each other. And then I remember when I got that book, and it was kind of a pinnacle moment for me on learning how to, use my mind to attract certain things, but also be cautious of other things around me. But that was just a little seed that got planted, but that grew over years and years and years. Being a dancer, you got to understand, I was living out my passion. I was living out my dream. So I would go away from these places, these environments that were heavily drug infused, and I would travel the world on cruise ships and work in prestigious hotels. And I would just, do this incredible thing that filled my soul with, gold. And then I would come back to them environments. And anybody will know that's going through any sort of addiction problems, or anyone that's gone through any sort of battle. If you're in a toxic environment, it is extremely difficult to beat the environment. So I was very lucky to go backwards and forwards. So I was allowed to collect myself, collect my thoughts, kind of build on myself, and then come back. And I would always fall back into it for a long time. But there were just pinnacle points where, as I got older, there was like I was in a house when I was doing one job, and it was drug fueled. And they were just drinking every night. There was just drugs every night. I'd go work, I'd come back, the party would still be going on. And I lived in there for about 6 months, but until the point where I was like, I'm going to work. I'm putting my own life in danger because I've had no sleep. I'm dancing. I'm jumping over stages. I'm putting other people's lives in danger, and I had to move out of the house. So there was there's a quick flicker of the sensibility, and you're like, okay, I need to move out of this house. And then, there was a time when, I'm getting all the letters for the debts, and then my mum's ringing me up, and then the penny drops, and you go, I need to take accountability for this. And then you go, okay, I've just got to start paying it. And, so it's these tiny little bits in my life where I had big shifts where I'm like, okay, then now I need to grow up. Now I need to start making better decisions. Like, now I need to take responsibility for this thing because it's not going away. And if I don't sort it out now, then it's just going to pile up and get worse and worse and worse and grow into something that I just can't control. And that was the same with the drugs, and the same with with money and stuff. I had to detach myself away from all them things, if it was people or if it was places, which becomes very isolating, becomes very lonely. And then I'd go away, come back, and then slowly start, pushing myself away from all these places to the point where you're just on your own all the time. And then that's the place where you go, actually, okay, then, well, now I can start healing a little bit more. And then once you get off all the gear, and get away from all the places, all the people that bringing out the worst in you, you can learn to grow some sort of structure, some sort of stability, and then grow, some techniques. If it was a lot of affirmation work for me, a lot of meditation, a lot of movement, and a lot of self-coaching through, I'm obsessed with like little short clips of it's, Les Brown, of it's, what is it? if it's all these big talkers and all these big Nightingale, all these old coaches in life coaches that I've got on my phone, and I just used to wake up and listen to them all day. And I've always had, my mind expanded when I got into college. You got to think this kid's come from the council estate. He didn't know where he was going in his life. He was given this opportunity from a beautiful woman, an angel called Diane Ford on the street. She offered me the place, taking kids out of disadvantaged areas. And then I was on in this private college like it was a movie. And then I was on a cruise ship after I graduated from there. Everything, my mind was just going poof, opening up, poof. I'm capable of so much more. I can do so much more. I can create so much better for myself. And the problem is with a lot of us in life and in council estates or disadvantaged areas, we have such a small mindset or a self-belief system that we never strive to get on. So I've been given that already through my experience as a dancer. So now coming out of it, when I'm creating something else myself, I'm like, well, actually, if I use my mind right and I direct it in the right direction, I can be unstoppable. If I can believe it and then I can just work for it and then I can be consistent and persistent, then I can grow something really unique. And that's exactly what I do. And, and it's being able to, it's having that faith in yourself. So that's what's brought about where we are now.
No, it's really impressive that you were able to kind of pull yourself out of it and listen to, self-help or coaching things and really kind of pull yourself out of it. So it's got to be really, really difficult, and not everyone has that ability. And so, I guess with that, some questions that I always like to ask people, there's three. One is, I guess, and it actually is a great segue, is, are there any books or even any of the self-help things that you would recommend for people to read or to listen to?
Yeah, so The Secret, because I was dyslexic in school and in college. I'm never a big reader. I didn't start reading until I started my PT course, really. But I read that book twice. It was a book that I just had no problem reading, which is The Secret. And then since I've started, because I do read now. I try and read as much as I can. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle was a really big one as well, for being able to come into the present, being able to detach myself away from the mind and actually start questioning my thoughts and then being an observer of the thinker. That one was a game changer. And just certain clicks of when you are overthinking, bringing yourself back to your senses, your sense of feel, your sense of touch, your sense of hearing, and then, just bringing yourself into the moment is extremely good. Breaking up that pattern in your mind and letting it know that you don't favor that overthinking and in that struggle anymore, which is a big one. So, and then, I've read the Motivation Manifesto by Brendan Burchard as well, which is a really good book. It has some really gold bits in it. And, I'm just starting now. It's called Let Go by David Hawkins, which I've been given, the pathway to surrender. And I've read other things like, what's the other one I read? It's something like Don't Give a Fuck, or The Power of Not Giving a Fuck, or something like that anyway. But it's another book that's like, don't sweat, all the small stuff, and sometimes it is what it is. But it's something like that. It swears in the title. And then I've read little books, like there's another one about how to lie with statistics and stuff. That I've seen.
What you said it was called?
How to Lie with Statistics. So like how certain things are perceived in certain ways, and how you can actually you can make something look totally different by using certain wordings and certain stats, and how we cherry pick stuff. But yeah, a lot of my books are built around self-help. So I did read one a long time ago as well at my auntie, and it's just like the Sunshine Kid or something. It was about these kids in Africa that were like gangs, and that was really cool as well. My auntie gave me that book, but that's the only book that I've read that's about something. The rest of them are quite intact with, self-progression and self-development.
Oh, that's great. I read a lot of them. So, well, definitely, I'm actually building a directory that's going to be linked to our Instagram that will have any recommendations of professionals, books, or groups like the Brotherhood Legion. So people can go to it and kind of see, and, hopefully over time it will grow and evolve, and people can go and submit stuff on it as well. So I'm about to launch that soon. So these will be added to it. So
yeah, wicked.
So that'll be great.
I've got a load here now as well. Have you? There's my other ones here. Ed Got Told is a New Earth. Stillness Speaks. Ed Got Told's great. Anyway, if you don't know,
It is
the
good. I've read a bunch of his stuff.
you've seen him, yeah. The George Orwellian. I've not read
Yeah.
it yet. 1984. You probably know that one. And then some
Yeah, I'm
conspiracy
trying to
books.
see. I have The Power of Now right here on my window. I was like, is it downstairs or upstairs? Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, and then a book about sleep, breath work, and trigger points. So,
No, that's great. And then, if you died tonight, what would you regret not doing?
I was talking to the lads about this the other day, and the answer is not having a child. We was talking about children the other day and about the power of giving life, and talking about relationships, and that we're getting older now. All my friends actually have kids. Some of them have two. All my brothers have two. My two brothers have two daughters. They're my younger brothers as well. But because of me traveling so much as a dancer, I never got into a serious relationship. And then after 2019, I actually got into a relationship that I thought was going to be something really impactful and really really special, and then it didn't work out. So that kind of took a big hit on me. And then since then, I've put myself into the work so much that I've kind of started my life again with a new education and a new purpose, and being of service to others instead of myself so much. And so now that's taken all my time, because it's taken, the charity takes up a lot of my time. And the reason it's so successful is because I've just fed it, and I've spent I've been obsessed with it. And now I'm trying to, I'm developing my coaching skills. I'm looking to do a life coaching course, but I'm just finishing my GP referral course for my PT. There's just so much going on that I'm struggling to hold down a relationship, but at the same time, I do really want a child, so I'm in a conflict with myself. So it would be a child, yeah.
It's funny. I had a friend interview me for Manly Combos a couple weeks ago, and that's what I said, the same thing. So
yeah.
But I have a feeling I'm older than you. So how old are you?
I'm 33.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm definitely older than you by a lot. Yeah, I'm 38, so you got some time.
Yeah.
But it's probably why you look so young from all that dancing and physical.
It
fitness.
is.
So, and then the last one, and then we'll go into talk about the Brotherhood Legion. So, if the next couple of years were a chapter, what would that chapter be?
It would be the architect, because I'm trying to really create, manifest, and build something now that's going to be the foundations of my new life. Mm-hmm. So this right now is a stage, I feel like, in my life where I am, stepping into the visions that I have, and trying to create that base again that is going to give me the life that I had as dancing, the freedom, the security, but also the beauty and the essence of just, the control of it. So right now, I'm in between doing a full-time job with it, making the charity sustainable, and then educating myself to a place where I can start going coaching online or in a different manner, which will allow me to make more money for my family and me in the future, and give me more time and freedom back to do that as well. So we're building again.
Nice. That sounds great. I've actually, nobody's ever said that before, so I really appreciate that. I like when I hear something new and different. So now that we've kind of talked about your journey, I guess, one, give everyone a background on what the Brotherhood Legion is, and then we can talk about, I guess, how did it kind of come to be?
So the Brotherhood Legion is an award-winning men's mental health group from Leicester. It's a focus group where we primarily focus on inclusion, movement, and conversation. And we do numerous different free services on Saturday and Sunday, where we have coffees in the chat and we play cards. And then we do a free fitness session on Sundays, where we do strength and conditioning one week, and then some physical hit and circuit. But we, once every 6 weeks, we'll go on a hike, or we'll do a camp, or, we'll do another big event, which is built around bringing people together, if it's over playing pool or gaming, or just getting out and about. And then we also do numerous different things for the community. If it's helping out the homeless, giving them sleeping bags, tents, food. If it's, setting up other events with other charities where we give out, like, once again, not just the homeless, but anybody that needs it. We do an event literally on the 21st, we could talk about, where it's one of the first events that I ever did, which is where we give out free haircuts, free clothes, and free food to anybody that needs it. And then we do charity football matches. We do, just other stuff that basically contributes and gives back. Our group's one of, the most diverse groups that you'll ever find, men from all different ages, all different races, all different religions. And it's pretty much creating the space for the men that might not be all the way at the extreme and in the place where they need to go to serious therapy or an addiction group, or they might be in the middle. Just men that actually might be having a wobble as well. We make that space for all them men. So you will have a man in the group that is battling addiction. You might have a man in the group that just, is having a really tough time at this part of his life and he needs to gain some balance. Or you might have a man that, is just struggling with connecting with the women and, social interactions and social anxiety. He's just not got that experience, and then we all learn off each other. There's a beautiful thing. It's a concept. You might have heard it. It's from Denmark. It's called a human library. Now, okay. It's created in the 2000s, and it was basically you go to a library to read books. The human library is where you don't go to read books. You go into a room, a facility, and there'll be people dotted around that facility that will share stories with you when you sit down. Now, these stories might be about drug addiction. They might be about loss. They might be about religion. These are here to break stigmas down, change perspectives, and help people come down to a similar level to someone else in walk in their shoes and respect their views in an open way. What we do at the Brotherhood is exactly that. You will have men from all different backgrounds, if it's the council estates or if it's, big time, successful gentlemen that own good businesses. And you'll have people that play, video games, and then, and the guys that go out and play football. There's all these different caliber of people that share all different caliber of stories, but all are there in the same essence of support, without judgment and without ego. Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. I actually know the human library, so I wrote that down just because, I think that's a brilliant thing. And I love how you have because I was actually having a conversation with someone before this who runs a men's group. He's technically out of Toronto, but it's a global men's group on Facebook. And he was talking, there was a couple of things you were talking about that he said as well, which was the census thing. And then also, just allowing people to have people from all different backgrounds and races and religions and everything, which is, to me, it's a beautiful thing because it's good for people to realize that it doesn't matter where you're from. We're all experiencing similar things, but it might be a little bit different. But the other thing you're talking about as well around doing things outdoors and exercise and things like that. So can you give me a little bit of a glimpse on how would, say, your camping trip or your cards or anything, like, do you guys try to structure it in a certain way to kind of spark conversations, or are there certain things you're trying to do to kind of help people, like within that framework? Like, what is it that it actually looks like?
So the coffee and a chat and the conversation in the social, we come, we sit down and then we'll just talk about, how our week's been going. And then, the floor's open. Once you create a space for men to feel comfortable and they know they're coming into that space, that they can talk about what's been going on in their lives, people will talk about it. Like, we don't have to go, okay, one by one, go around the table, and like that you do have in some support groups, which is, sometimes a great way to do things, but sometimes as well, it's can be overwhelming for some people. This is imagine 10 to 12, 15 lads around the table, and then whoever wants to take, to talk, we'll be having one person will come into the situation and say, oh, how you doing, guys? I'll introduce them, or they'll introduce themselves. And then if they want to share, they'll share. If they're not, then they'll just listen to the conversations of other people sharing how their week's been, what's stressing them out, what's brought them to the group. And then, we'll start playing cards as well. But what you get is like subgroups. So we can sit down and start talking. And then maybe I'm talking to that man over there about how his work's been going, the new job that he's just got. And then talking to the other gentleman about, him getting sacked from work, or maybe him struggling with some test results. And then how's the studying going because we don't just and then somebody else on the other side will be talking about something else. But let me pull it back a bit, because we're not just a group that talks. A lot of them lads that are in that group, I've had conversations with, and then I've attached them to outdoor sources. So maybe it is the gentleman that's got a test coming up. So I've attached him to a tutor that's ended up helping him with that test. Maybe it's the bloke that's come out of work, and I've attached him to a careers manager and someone like that. And then maybe this person's gone, I've got a job here, or this person's gone, I'm having a really tough time with this. And then people connect. So we try and basically it's a brotherhood where we support each other throughout out the room. So it's more than just coming saying, hi, my name's here, and today I'm like to get it. Like, we're really a family. And I was talking to the men about it today, the session, that the last session, there was a nice turnout, and we had around about 15 lads come through the session. And I said, you don't understand the value of your presence. Now, if there's only 2 or 3 men at the session, then it can be a good session. But there's not as much diversity and adversity that gets shared. Now, when there's a bigger collective, people feel more comfortable as well, because they don't feel so much seen, and then they might see different people and have different conversations with people that are in different topics and categories that they are interested in, and so everybody goes away feeling more fuller, more like they've had a greater experience. And it's because every man there is a pillar for every other man. So sometimes when we think, oh no, I won't go today, I'll just, if you're not feeling it, it's, even though that's going to have a profound effect on us just getting there, you're also going to have a profound effect on your brother that's there as well. And people can underplay the importance of their presence, and we should never do that, So that's a really important thing, and it goes for the same with the fitness. But we know statistically, if you talk about it lowers the reattempts of. We know if you do exercise, when you contract your muscles, you release chemicals that act as antidepressants. So we know doing these certain things have certain effects as well. So these, as a combined, it's not when I build this into when in the future. I tell people it's not a group, it's going to be more of a clinic. It's a man clinic, because these things that you use, the conversation, the movement, the inclusion activities built around things that are fun, and the getting out in the outdoors, all these have already statistically there's already literature proven that they will help lower stress, and then some of them help build up resilience, to stress. So we're not just alleviating it. We're actually bringing up tools that will be able to hopefully help them, be more sustainable in their problems later. And what I want to say as well is, we try not to focus all the time on the problem, because I believe this can be sometimes an issue. That when we only affirm what is not going wrong, is going right in our life, and we just focus on the stuff that we're struggling with, then we will live in that position that we're struggling, because we're constantly affirming that. So what we try and do is we try and look forward to the progressive, and we try and affirm better for ourselves, and believe that we're capable of more. And then, we focus on pushing ourselves and stuff like that, in certain events, and giving back to give the guys a different sense of achievement. Because I believe that's a part of the problem. I think that we need to focus on the tools and the techniques, meditation, affirmations, goal setting, and movement, breath work, all these things that can help rewire the body to help us further in life.
No, that's really interesting here. The funny that my next question was going to say, well, what's next for Brotherhood Legion? You already answered the men's, going to be a men's clinic, which I actually really appreciate. And I think what you guys are doing is really interesting. And it's something I was, talking to friends about, which, about men coming together, and there's no way that's right or wrong. But I think sometimes sitting around and everyone saying that this is what I'm going through, whatever it is, can be quite intimidating to people, because they might not be ready to talk about it, might not be ready to talk about it in front of a group. So I think if you can mix different things together, whether it's, activities or outdoors, things like that. And I was actually talking to someone earlier today about that. He's British. He moved to I forgot where it is, somewhere in France in the country, like near the mountains. And he does a lot of stuff with men in around yoga, and also, but he brings men and also couples into the the wilderness. But and he said, he's like, this is a real big helper because it allows you to kind of get away from your typical frameworks and really think about things differently. So I really like to hear what you guys are doing. It's great. And obviously I'm hoping somebody will listen to this and kind of, hear about it and want to potentially join or maybe try to find something similar that's near where they live. So yeah, I really appreciate you being on the podcast, and hopefully one day if you ever get to London, we can meet in person.
Yeah, no, definitely. Just I want to touch on what you just said there about finding a place that's close to them. If you're in the UK,
Okay.
there's an app called the Joy app. That's JOY
Oh,
app.
okay.
And we've recently been put on that. And what that app is that you can search your local area for specific local support. So it's there to help,
Cool.
the NHS. It's there to rebalance the playing field a little bit, and it allows you to see different support groups and outreach centres within your local area or close to your local area. So anybody that is struggling anywhere, then they might be able to jump on the Joy app and then check where they could get support as well. And that's not just for men, that's for everyone.
No, that's amazing. Well, actually, that's perfect because one of the things with the directory that I was going to launch in the next couple of days was going to have tech platforms and stuff that people recommend. So I'll add this to the list on there. Perfect. Well, thanks for joining. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it as
No
well.
problem. All right. Have a good one, Reiss.
Peace in, my brother.